Welcome to this segment, and in this segment we are going to discuss on how we can go to create the landing page for a product management system. Now we have been able to look at how you can go to configure your PHP file with the database, and therefore we need to have a landing page whereby the audience or the people visiting your page can be able to view your products in that particular page. Now in this case, we just go to our VS Code, and in this VS Code we are going to create a new file called index.php. So the file is called index.php, and we are creating that file in the same directory. Remember, we are developing an application, and therefore in order for you to be able to communicate with the server, all these files that you are going to use must be contained within this directory. So I've already set the directory to be shop, and therefore if you missed how we did this in our previous video, kindly go to the description section. You'll be able to see the link, and then you can be able to revisit that particular area. But for me, I've already set everything. I just click create so that I can be able to get a blank file. Now we are just going to start developing our landing page. So we are going to develop our landing page like that. So that is our HTML, our initial HTML. We are going also to have the head tag, I mean the HTML, but I've already specified the HTML, but we can just remove this for the sake of consistency. You can have that in place. Then you have the head. In the head section, I'm supposed to add the link for the styling, but at the moment we are not going to add it. We are going to add it in our next tutorial, whereby we'll be doing more of styling of this page. So I'm going to leave this part, or maybe I can just write their title. You can just say title for this page should be my system, my product management system. Product management system. So this is what is going to be displayed there at the top of the browser. So I'm going to close this. Good. Then after that, I've said we are going to deal with CSS in my next tutorial, and therefore there is no need for us to add the external links at the moment. So I just want to work with the pure HTML and PHP in this case. So I'm just going to say body. So we also had the body tag. Then we just press enter. Now in the body section, we're going to create several divs. So we're going to create the first div, and the first div is going to be assigned an ID of container. Again, if you missed a video on the CSS selectors, how can you be able to know that this is an ID? How can you be able to tell that this is a class? So there's a video in the description section of how to be able to differentiate these two terminologies, or how to select elements in HTML. So I'm setting that to be our root div. Inside this root div, we are going to create several div. So the first div that you're going to create is the div for the header. So we're going to create the div header. Now this div header is going to contain this heading 2. It's going to contain heading 2, and this heading 2 is supposed to display my products. So that is the heading that is going to be displayed at the top there, my products. Then after that, we are going to do the styling on this area. So don't worry, we are just giving the full area, how this particular page is going to look like. And then we create the second div, and this div we are going to give it an ID of btn add. So this is the space where you will be adding all the products. So when you click on this button, you'll be able to add products in your database. Then So we are going just to add a link at the moment. We're just going to say ahref. Ahref is an anchor link. Okay, so let's say form.php. So we are going to create a form in my next video. Then the statement is supposed to be add. Then you can just close that part. So remember, this is supposed to be having opening and then closing quotations like that. Good. So that space has been completed. We go to the next div. So the last div is that it is going to display to us the following. So we are going to have ID. Then we're going to say that this is the content. Opening double quotation content, like that. So that is our div, our last div in this particular case. So I'm just going to close this div. Good. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is just to work on the PHP part. So this PHP part is just, I can just explain the way we want it to do, is that in case it can be able to be connected to the database. If this file is going to be connected to the database, it's going to query the database for the product that are in that particular table. But in case it is going to generate an error, then it is not, it's going to give us the error that has just occurred. So these particular files or these particular products that are going to be fetched from the database, they are going to be arranged in a table. So we are going to create something like a table structure whereby all these files that have been fetched from our database is supposed to be arranged. Okay, so we just want to start with the first statement. So we just click enter. So remember, we are still within the main div. Yeah, we are still within the container div. Okay, so do not confuse, we are outside other divs. We have got the first div, this for header. We have the second div for the button. We have got another div for the content, but we are writing this code down here after the content div. So we just create our PHP file there. So we can close that PHP file, and then we can now press enter to enter everything there. So the first statement that is supposed to come out is require once. So what that statement means, that this particular file is going to be called once. And which file is this? This file is called config.php, the one that we just created previously. And I said that every file that you create, that particular file must be there. Then we are going to select, we are going to have to create a variable called SQL, and in this variable we are going just to say select product ID, select product ID, comma, product name. Remember, now we are fetching the data that has been stored in our database, product name. Then we also need to fetch unit price. Unit price, I think it's written like that, unit price, the way it is written in our database, unit price, and then comma. We are also supposed to fetch quantity. Okay, then we are also supposed to fetch product description. We're also supposed to fetch description, comma, and then we are also supposed to fetch category, and then we are also supposed to say from. Yeah, so this is the last one, and then we just say from capital, then we just say from what? From products. From products. Okay, so this description, it is a little bit blue. Does it mean it's a keyword? So let me check. Okay, don't think. Okay, we have unit price, quantity, description. Maybe I can use small letter. It's going to change anything? No, I think it's just like that. Though, so we can just close that, and then we say closing quotation mark and then the comma. So what am I doing in this case? I'm going to select product ID, product name, unit price, quantity, description from our database, and then category from the products table. Now what if that particular statement is we want to check if that all these things that we want to fetch are available. So I'm going to create another variable called response. So we want response from the database to tell us if whatever I've just specified above is going to happen, or whatever I've specified above, it is there. So I'm going to say MySQLi query. So in this statement we are querying the database to see if whatever I've just specified above is available. So con first. Remember we talked about, we created a con variable in the config php, and that is why it is being called here. Once the file has been loaded, that variable can be used throughout this particular program. So we can also say that we have SQL. Okay, now that is the statement, and then we are going to say if $response, and then if actually all the connect is working, the con variable is working, everything that in that space is working, and SQL also variable has got all those what you have just mentioned there, the fields that you have just mentioned there, it should be able to execute the following. Okay, so you have if, and then the variable response, and then now we want to echo some statement in that space. So put a single quote, and then we say table. So we are creating a table so that you can be able to put all our values there that you have just fetched from the database. So we just say tr table row. This is part of HTML syntax. So we are going to say th table header, and then we just say product ID, and then we just say th. Good. Now what I'm going to do, in order for me not to continue typing what I've just been typing there, I'm just going to copy this, and then I just Control C, and then I just paste depending with the number of field I'm expecting. So this is 1 2 3 4 5 6, so I need 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6, so these are 6. I just edit now the names, This is supposed to be product name. Okay, then you can just say this is not supposed to be that, it's supposed to be unit price. Then here we are supposed also to say quantity, and then we also have description, and then we can say we have the last one called category. Good. So this is very much okay for me at the moment. So we have been able to have our table headings. Now we close the tr here. Remember, we have got the opening single quote and then the closing single quote. Don't mix up. This is a single quote for the opening of the echo. So echo, this is the main echo and is going to echo the table. Inside the table now we are having the table rows and the table data. So in this case we have just specified the table headings, and now the next part we are going now to define the table rows. Now we are going to say that while row, remember we are within that statement, we just within the table. So we're saying that while the $sign row is equal to MySQLi fetch is equal to MySQLi fetch underscore array. Okay, and then we call the $sign response. So remember the response we created in the previous part. Yeah. So in this case we are just saying that while row is equal to fetch MySQLi fetch array, then into bracket, what you are going to pay attention on is this particular variable, and in this particular variable is just going to help us to see, first of all, if there is a connection between this file and the database, and the second thing that this variable is going to help us to check if this particular table has got all these fields that has been mentioned here. So this statement is just going to fetch the row if this statement is going to be true. That is exactly what is happening in this line of code. Now, while that is true, what you are going to do in this case, while that statement is true, this is what is going to happen. Okay, so we are going to say that echo, then you open the single quotes, and then you are going to have now the table row. Okay, now in this table row we are going to have the table data. So we are going to say table data. This table data, you have the single quotes. Okay, then in this single quotes we are going to have the dot for concatenation. We are going to have the dot for concatenation, and then you say $sign the row. Remember we have defined the row variable at the top there, and then we are going to call that particular field. So we are going to say product ID. That is the field that we are going to fetch. We're going to fetch the product ID row. Okay, data first, and then we are going to make sure that we concatenate. So we have opened with concatenation, we need to end with the concatenation, and then we just put that. Remember we had started with we had an angle bracket. Yes, so we have this and then we have this. So this concatenation should come in there, here. That is where the concatenation is supposed to come in, and then now you close your TTD like that. Very good. So that's it for that. Now we are going to, because it's just the same, we are going just to replicate all this, the number 6 times. So what I'm going to do, since this statement is just the same, I am just going to copy this like this, copy this statement here like this, copy, and then we are just going to paste 6 times. So I'm going to paste 6 times. Yeah, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what I need to change, I'm going to change in whatever is here. So I'm going to change here to product name, then you are going also to change unit name, unit price, and then you're going to change also quantity. We're going to change quantity here, and then we are going also to change the description to description here, description, and then we are also going to change here to be what? To be category. Okay, so something that I should mention, that these rows that we have just been fetching, they are supposed to be in single quotes. Yeah, so they are supposed to be in single quotes, so make sure that you put the single quotes in there, okay, so that you don't get a blank table. So this one will enable you to fetch exactly the string that is in your data, in your table. So this is the string that are there in our table, so I'm just going to put that there. Very good. Okay, so we are seeing some underline here, unexpected name. Okay, so we are saying that expected comma. So maybe I'll find out where the error is. So we are going to close this. Remember, we had opened the TD at the top there, so we are going to close the TR, I mean. We're going to close the TR, so make sure that you have that single quote. So we are going to have our TR closed. So let me just make sure that I have the right thing there. So TR, closing TR, and then you put that single quote. Put the single quote there, and then you put the semicolon at the end. Okay, so they are saying there is some kind of unexpected error. I'm trying to find where the error is. Expected, they are saying that unexpected name. Okay, so expect comma. So let me just find out where the error is. Okay, so I'll just leave this pending for now. Just leave it for pending for now. Maybe it will get the error exactly, because it's telling us that unexpected name, because it has not been able to link with the database to check if that name is exactly what is supposed to be in that space. So we can just leave it blank for now. We just leave it the way it is for now. So we just continue to the next line, and then we can just say that after we have done that, we just want to make sure that we get. Okay, remember we had just opened the curly bracket at the top here, so we just need to make sure that we close it at the end of this statement here. So that curly bracket should end there, so that it can be able to communicate between this and that. So there is also another problem here. So we have if response, it's supposed to end somewhere. Okay, let me just find out, because it's giving me this is where if is supposed to end, and then this is supposed to be connected to, you can see it is still making this one active, which is not right. Okay, let me just write in the statement now, echo, and then we can just close the table. You can just close the table here. So we are closing the table tag. Okay, so we can put a comma there. So did we had an opening a table tag at the top here, so I can think we can do that. Yeah, so that is it. It has corrected all the errors that we had in this case. So you can see we had the opening table tag, but we had not placed. So if I remove this, you can see the way it has been displaying, but now I've just corrected that it needs to have the opening single quotes and then the closing single quotes here. So that is it. Everything has fallen into place for this table. So there's something else that is being underlined, so there is something here. Okay, let me find out where the problem is in this case. Okay, we can just leave it blank like that for now. So there's an error here. Okay, so we have the div. Is this div supposed to be here? Really? We are supposed to have two closing divs, so meaning that this statement is not correctly placed in the right div. So let me just check where exactly it's supposed to go. So this is supposed to go in the content div. Yeah. So if I just move it to the content div, inside the content div, to be within the content div. So what I need to do, I just need to delete this closing div there, so that I push this statement at the top, and then we are going to have our closing div. So you can see there is some dot here that was meant for the closing of this, but now we have already captured that, and therefore we have it. We have already done that. So we hid this dot for the sake of closing of the table tag, but we have already done that. So we hid this closing div for the content. Now we need to have the closing div for the container. So this is supposed to capture the container part. I think everything now has fallen into place. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is, just in case there is an error, give me an error, tell me where the error is. So we are going to say else, and then we are going to say that echo display. Basically we are saying display echo, can say echo could not, can just say could not, can say could not get a response, could not get the response from database. So that's the statement that is going to be displayed, and then that statement is supposed to be concatenated with the MySQLi error, and then you just give us the connect if the connection error is the problem in that space. Yeah, so we have specifically said that give us the error in case the database is not giving us the response. Yeah, so that is how you can go to ensure that you get the right response in this case, and then you just put the comma, the semicolon at the end, so for that statement. And then we move to the last part. We just move to the last part now, and this contain the, so let me just close this else part, and then we move to the next part, and then you just say MySQLi close, MySQLi close, and then you just say $con. Okay, so this statement is supposed to help us to closes the previous open database connection. So MySQLi will help us to connect or to close that database that we have just opened. Now we have the closing PHP tag. We have already also put the closing div for the content, and also the closing div for the container, and then we have the body here, and then we have our HTML at the end there. So if I save this and then I try to run this just to check if everything is running correctly, remember I need to get rid of this part in our config statement. So this was just meant to help us to check if the connection is successful. So it has done the purpose, and therefore there is no need for us to continue keeping it in that space. So let me just make sure that everything is okay first. So this one, get rid of that, Okay, so I think that is okay for me. And then this side also, I think everything is intact. So if I run this, I should be able to see the table up here, unless if there is an error. Okay, so I'm not getting any response, meaning that there is an error somewhere. Okay, so the error is here. It's supposed to be not config, it's supposed to be index.html. So that is what I need to run. So there is an error in line 21. They are saying that there is a syntax error in line 21. So I go back in line 21. So here we have a syntax error. So this is where the problem is. Let me just find out where the problem is in this space. Okay, so I think I've just known where the error is. So we were supposed to put our echo statement here for our table row. So this echo statement was missing, and also you're supposed to start with the opening single quote for the table row, and then you need to close the table row, and then you end the single quote for that table row. So whatever is inside here, you can be able to finish by putting there the semicolon at the end of it. So you can see the error has been cleared for us. So I just save this, and then I go back to my program, try to run it. Perfect. You can see everything has just run the way we wanted it to run. So we have cleared all the errors, and therefore it means that our database is communicating directly with our PHP index.php. So this landing page is nice, but it is not styled. So in our next video, I'm going to show you how to style this. Thank you so much. See you in my next video.